You're born into a world where darkness means danger. No streetlights, no motion sensors, no 911 to dial. Just you, your family, and whatever clever tricks you can cobble together to keep the thieves, murderers, and wandering lunatics from making themselves at home in your home. Welcome to medieval home security. But here's the thing about medieval people. They weren't bumbling peasants stumbling around in the dark hoping for the best. They were survival artists who turned paranoia into an art form and community cooperation into a science. They developed security systems so effective that some are still used today, minus the occasional ritual animal sacrifice. The dawn of paranoia, your early education. You learn early that safety isn't something you buy at the store. It's something you build brick by brick, relationship by relationship, and yes, sometimes goose by goose. Your medieval ancestors weren't sitting ducks waiting to be plucked. They were masters of layered defense who would make modern security consultants weep with envy. No electricity? No problem. No police force? Who needs them when you've got the entire village watching each other's backs like medieval NSA agents with pitchforks? The first thing you discover is that medieval home security operates on one brilliant principle: make yourself harder to rob than the guy next door. It's not about being Fort Knox, it's about being Fort, maybe I'll try that other house instead. Your education begins before you can even walk. You watch your mother check every door before bed, listen to your father explain why certain windows stay shuttered, and learn why the family dog sleeps by the entrance instead of by the fire. These aren't quirky family traditions. They're survival protocols passed down through generations of people who understood that complacency kills. Your first line of defense, the wooden bar. You wake up every morning to the sound of your father lifting a massive wooden beam off the front door. This isn't some quaint rustic decoration. This is medieval steel. Well, medieval wood. And it's the difference between waking up in your own bed versus waking up very dead. The bar lock system is beautifully simple. A thick wooden or metal bar slides across your door, resting in iron brackets mounted to the wall. No fancy mechanisms, no keys to lose, just pure physics keeping the bad guys out. You can't pick what doesn't have a lock. You can't bump what's basically a tree trunk trying to cosplay as a security device. Think of it as the medieval equivalent of those door security bars you see in modern apartments, except these were literally saving lives nightly. A 3-inch metal bar secured about 4 feet off the ground could stop most intruders cold. Sure, they could try to smash through, but that takes time and makes noise. 2 things burglars really hate. You learn to slide that bar into place like your life depends on it. Because it does, the ritual becomes automatic. Dinner ends, fire gets banked, bar goes up. Miss this step, and you might wake up to find strangers rearranging your furniture while you're still in it. But the genius of the bar system goes beyond just brute force blocking. It's psychological warfare. That heavy thunk of wood against wood signals to everyone, family, neighbors, and potential intruders, that this house is locked down for the night. It's the medieval equivalent of setting your alarm system, except instead of beeping, it makes a satisfying thud that says, "Try me, I dare you." The lock revolution. When you want to get fancy. But let's say you want to get fancy. Maybe you've got some serious valuables, like an extra chicken or a piece of actual metal. Time to invest in what the medieval world considers high-tech, an actual lock. Medieval locks were designed for moderate deterrence, not serious security. A locked chest was usually large and heavy, adding another layer of protection simply through bulk. It's like storing your valuables in a safe that doubles as furniture and triples as workout equipment. Your wife carries the keys on her belt, advertising both your wealth and her responsibility. It's like wearing a designer handbag, if designer handbags prevented starvation and came with the constant stress of being responsible for everything valuable your family owns. The really paranoid wealthy folks go completely overboard. The finest locks had no visible keyhole. You had to know where to press a hidden spring that popped a slide back, exposing the hole. The springs, slides, and holes were all concealed with fancy carving or painting. It's like having a secret knock, but for your money box. Some medieval treasuries had up to a dozen locks on the door. because apparently one lock says, "I have valuables," but 12 locks say, "I have valuables and I am absolutely terrified someone's going to take them." It's security through redundancy taken to an almost comical extreme. Lock technology becomes an arms race between smiths and thieves. Every innovation in lock design is met with a corresponding innovation in lock picking. Springs and wards get more complex, keys become more elaborate, and the wealthy start commissioning locks that require PhD-level puzzle-solving skills just to open your own stuff. Your four-legged security system. Here's where medieval home security gets really clever. You don't need cameras when you have noses. You don't need motion sensors when you have ears. You don't need alarm systems when you have dogs that treat every approaching footstep like a personal insult to their entire family line. Medieval families relied heavily on guard dogs, especially mastiffs, as their first line of defense. These weren't just pets. They were four-legged security systems that could detect intruders long before humans could. Your dog doesn't need batteries, doesn't require monthly service calls, and comes with the added bonus of genuine affection when you're not being burgled. Large, well-trained house Huns were so prized as guards that Scottish law required anyone who killed one to stand watch in their place for the next year. That's right, kill a guard dog, become a guard dog. Medieval justice had a sense of humor and a deep appreciation for poetic punishment. These weren't your modern lapdogs either. Medieval guard dogs were serious business, mastiffs that could take down a grown man, bred specifically for size, aggression, and loyalty. They lived with the family, knew every person who belonged on the property, and had zero tolerance for unauthorized visitors. Training a medieval guard dog is an art form. You start when they're puppies, teaching them to distinguish between family, friends, and threats. They learn to bark at strangers but stay quiet when you need stealth. They're taught to attack on command, but also to back down when the threat passes. But wait, there's more. Even geese played a part in home security, honking loudly at any sign of danger and giving families plenty of warning to prepare for threats. The ancient Romans positioned gaggles of geese outside their fortifications because geese are loud, territorial, and will attack intruders. It's like having a car alarm that can also provide breakfast. Your livestock isn't just livestock, it's your early warning system. Every snort, cluck, and moo is potentially life-saving intelligence about who's creeping around your property at night. Chickens that suddenly go quiet, horses that start moving restlessly, pigs that begin grunting in alarm. These are all signals that something is wrong. The village network, community surveillance. But here's the real genius of medieval security. You're never really alone. Medieval communities operated on the principle that everyone's safety is everyone's business. It's socialism, but for not getting murdered in your sleep. The watch and ward system required communities to organize night patrols, with watchmen examining all suspicious characters from sunset to sunrise. Watchmen patrolled the streets at night, calling out the hour, keeping a lookout for fires, checking that doors were locked, and ensuring that drunks and other vagrants were delivered to the watch constable. You take turns. Tonight you're sleeping soundly while your neighbor Thomas walks the streets with a club and a lantern. Tomorrow night, Thomas gets to snore while you're out there checking doors and wondering why you volunteered for this. The night watch was usually volunteers who might be present in larger villages and towns, though generally not in small rural villages. If you live in a tiny hamlet, you're mostly on your own, but that also means everyone knows everyone, and strangers stick out like sore thumbs. These watchmen weren't just wandering around randomly. They had specific routes, designated checkpoints, and established procedures for handling different types of threats. They knew which houses were supposed to have lights burning, which animals should be making noise, and which people had legitimate reasons to be out after dark. The watch system also serves multiple functions beyond just security. Watchmen call out the time, important in a world without clocks. They watch for fires which could destroy entire communities in minutes. They help drunks get home safely instead of dying in ditches. It's emergency services, timekeeping, and social work all rolled into one underpaid job. Community paranoia, a beautiful thing. Local communities looked out for each other through neighborhood watch groups, and trust me, nobody wanted to mess with a village full of alert neighbors and their guard dogs. It's like having a Ring doorbell system, except instead of posting videos to Facebook, your neighbors grab pitchforks. You know every face in your village. You know which horses belong to whom, which dogs bark at what times, and exactly what normal sounds like. When something's off, everyone knows immediately. It's surveillance capitalism, except the only data being collected is who's creeping around my turnips at midnight. The beautiful thing about medieval security is that it's inherently social. Your safety depends on maintaining good relationships with your neighbors, which means you can't be a complete jerk and expect protection. It's crime prevention through enforced civility. This creates a fascinating social dynamic where security and community relationships become inseparable. You help your neighbors not just out of kindness, but because your own survival depends on their willingness to help you. It's mutual aid backed by mutual threat, and it works surprisingly well. Women play a crucial role in this network, though they're rarely part of the formal watch. They know which children are supposed to be where, which sounds indicate domestic disputes versus real emergencies, and which strangers might be legitimate travelers versus potential threats. The village gossip network actually functions as a sophisticated intelligence gathering system. The architecture of fear, building defensively. Your house itself becomes a fortress through clever design. Medieval homes featured narrow windows that made it tough for arrows to fly in, but easy for defenders to shoot out, while thick walls provided protection and insulation. Every architectural choice is a security choice. You build with defense in mind. Your door is the strongest part of your house, reinforced with iron and designed to swing inward so attackers can't simply remove the hinges. Your windows are small, high, and often covered with shutters that can be barred from the inside. Churches and important buildings used bar locks for windows as well, showing that securing openings was just as important as securing doors. If it's good enough for God's house, it's good enough for yours. The layout of medieval houses reflects security concerns too. Important rooms are often located on upper floors, accessible only by narrow staircases that can be easily defended. Storage areas for valuables are built into the most secure parts of the structure. Some homeowners get creative with defensive landscaping. Thorny bushes planted under windows, paths that force visitors to approach from specific angles, and strategic placement of obstacles that would slow down intruders while allowing residents to move freely. When things go wrong, crisis response. Of course, no security system is perfect. You live in constant awareness that determined criminals can defeat almost any defense given enough time and motivation. Lock technology always presumed some kind of human guard because locks might be smashed and most could be picked with skill and determination. They couldn't really keep thieves out, but they could slow them down. The goal isn't to create an impenetrable fortress. The goal is to create enough of a hassle that thieves move on to easier targets. It's the medieval version of, I don't have to outrun the bear, I just have to outrun you. When security fails, response must be immediate and decisive. You've practiced scenarios with your family. What to do if someone breaks in, where to retreat if the main door is compromised, how to signal for help without alerting attackers to your plans. Whatever their nationality, since they'll be outnumbered by the brawlers, the first thing the watchman will do is get help. This means organizing the bystanders. In Germany, all the locals are also in the militia, so if they haven't already tooled up, some at least will run for proper military weapons. When security fails, justice is swift and brutal. If caught red-handed, thieves might be hanged on the spot. It's a legal gray area, but there's a tradition of lynch justice and nobody gets into trouble for stringing up a thief. The social contract of safety. You discover that medieval security is fundamentally about community trust. The watch and ward system was essential for public safety in towns and cities, requiring community cooperation and vigilance. From the earliest colonial settlements, communities required all householders to take turns watching and guarding. Your safety depends on fulfilling your obligations to others. Miss your turn on watch duty? Fail to maintain your section of the village wall? Refuse to help when the alarm is raised? Don't expect help when you need it. It's a harsh but effective system. Your security is only as strong as your community, and your community is only as strong as your commitment to it. The medieval security mindset. You learn to think like a fortress architect even in your humble cottage. Every decision, where to place your chicken coop, how high to build your fence, which neighbors to befriend, becomes a security calculation. Medieval homeowners relied on multiple layers of security working together, from individual defenses to community cooperation. You don't rely on any single system because you know that anything can fail. Your door bar might break, your dog might be sick, your neighbor might be drunk, but if you've planned properly, you've got backups for your backups. You sleep with weapons within reach, not because you're paranoid, but because you're realistic. All the men around you wear daggers, and everybody knows how to use them. Violence isn't something that happens to other people in other places. It's a constant possibility that requires constant preparation. The price of vigilance. This lifestyle takes its toll. You never really relax. Every strange sound at night sends your heart racing. Every new face in the village gets scrutinized. Every change in routine might signal danger. Night watchmen weren't well paid or highly respected, and there were concerns that some were too friendly with the criminals they were meant to watch. The system relies on ordinary people doing extraordinary things, often for little reward beyond the knowledge that they're keeping their community safe. You age faster in this world. The constant stress of vulnerability, the physical demands of manual security measures, the exhausting vigilance required for survival, it all adds up. But you also develop skills and awareness that would astonish modern people. You can read tracks, interpret sounds, and sense danger in ways that seem almost supernatural. The evolution of trust. As you grow older, you watch the security system evolve. By the 13th century, the anxieties created by darkness gave rise to formal rules about who could use the streets after dark and the formation of organized night watches. What started as informal community cooperation becomes codified law. The primary purpose of watch and ward was to guard city gates at night, but duties expanded to include lighting street lamps, calling time, and watching for fires. Your security system grows more sophisticated, but it never loses its fundamentally human character. You see the first stirrings of what will eventually become professional police forces, but for now, security remains a deeply personal and community responsibility. Everyone has skin in the game because everyone's safety depends on the system working. Lessons from the dark. As you reach the end of your medieval life, you reflect on what this constant vigilance has taught you. Security isn't something you buy. It's something you build through relationships, preparation, and community cooperation. Technology can help, but it can't replace the fundamental human elements of awareness, cooperation, and mutual responsibility. You've lived through raids, fires, famines, and plagues, and you've survived them all through the simple but profound principle that people are stronger together than apart. Your wooden bar, your faithful dog, your alert neighbors, these weren't just security measures. They were expressions of the human determination to protect what matters most. Medieval home protection wasn't just about building thick walls. It was a community effort, creating safety through teamwork. You've been part of something larger than yourself, a network of mutual protection that made civilization possible in an often brutal world. The last watch, as you lie on your deathbed, listening to the familiar sounds of your village settling in for another night, you hear your grandson sliding the wooden bar across the door. Your dog, well, your dog's great-great-granddog, lets out a contented sigh as he takes his position by the entrance. Outside, you can hear the watchman calling the hour and the weather, just as watchmen have done for generations. 10 o'clock and all's well echoes through the streets, and you smile because you know it's true. You've done your part. You've kept watch, maintained your defenses, honored your obligations to the community, and passed the knowledge to the next generation. The endless cycle of vigilance continues, but your watch is finally over. In a world without alarms, you learned that the best security system is simply people who care about each other's safety. Your village will sleep soundly tonight, protected not by technology, but by the timeless power of community, preparation, and a really good dog. The wooden bar slides into place one more time, and all is well.